the state of Florida is the place where woke goes to die. We are not going to let this state. We're not going to let this state descend into some type of woke dumpster fire. We're going to be following common sense. We're going to be following, facts, and that's just really, really important.
That's Governor Ron DeSantis standing up to the woke ideology taking over schools across the country and in his home state of Florida. The governor is offering a unique plan to tackle the national teacher shortage by hiring retired police officers, military veterans, and first responders. DeSantis says their real-life experience makes these retirees a perfect fit to counter the ideology he says gets drilled into today's young minds. The governor had more to say about this a short while ago.
We believe that veterans offer a lot to our communities. We want to harness that. We want to harness those experiences, being in those military units, understanding how to lead people, understanding how to be in difficult circumstances. And so our view is that, those folks are bringing a wealth of experience and knowledge. We want them to look to our education system as a place where they can land and continue to serve our communities.
Joey, I think this is a fantastic idea. Our veterans know about the values of bravery, heroism. I don't have to tell you, service to the country. That's who I want teaching my kids. I love this.
No, I like it. I think really the genius here is how do you circumvent the indoctrination of universities? You go find someone that might have gotten a 4-year degree but has spent 20 years doing real-world things, not academic things. Just like sometimes small towns will hire veterans and put them out on the police force and give them kind of a crash course. That's not a good way to set them up for success. You have to take a veteran, teach them to be a police officer. There's a difference between seeking the enemy and wanting to kill it and having to treat the enemy to protect the enemy, which is what police officers have to do. The bad guys, they still have to protect them as they bring them into jail. So one thing I will say is I hope that the second step to that plan is to bring these veterans, first responders, just because they have a 4-year degree, and teach them to be a teacher. But not teach them to be a radical left ideologue who is indoctrinating children. That has nothing to do with teaching. And I think the idea here is if you find someone that has already had a career in public service, doing something honorable, they're probably not bringing in a bunch of academic ideas that really teach you to hate this country. And as long as the second part of that is teaching them to be teachers, which means having the patience of Job, then I think they're going to be phenomenally successful, and I love the idea.
Dr. Sapphire, our schools, of course, have an obligation to teach history, and not all of American history is good. We have many sins in our past. But this idea that there should be respect for our common values, our flag, our anthem, our pledge, I think someone who's fought each other, who's fought and bled for that flag is someone who I think offers a rich perspective that any child can learn from.
Well, undoubtedly, and I agree with Governor DeSantis in that I don't think that any educator should make a child feel guilty about things that happen well before they or even their parents were born. When my oldest son went through high school and college, he at times felt nervous to express certain opinions during group discussions. He felt that his teacher would be upset with him, maybe grade him unfairly. And so my problem is I think all ideologies should be taught in schools, right, left. I don't think anything should be censored. However, I think that they should be met from an objective standpoint. And unfortunately, what we're seeing is a lot of professors are inserting their opinions and making the conversation more subjective. And that's not the role of an educator. I love this idea in the sense that people with real-world experience to come in and help teach our youth. As a mother myself, I do have some concerns. I want to make sure that you have the most qualified people who are teaching the fundamentals to your children, math, science, and so forth. And so, to Joy's point, as long as they're coming in and they're being properly trained on how to teach our children, then I am okay with this. I think it's a great thing. But just like the doctor shortage, the answer isn't to go and find lesser qualified people to fill that gap. It is to make sure, like we saw with the Affordable Care Act, where they were replacing doctors with nurses. But what you need to do is you need to incentivize the teachers we already have. And for anyone you want to bring in to teach, you have to make sure that they have the proper training and support, and they're well compensated for it.
And Emily, so if you're a veteran, you do have to get a 5-year certificate if you have not gotten your bachelor's degree yet. If you're a law enforcement officer, you do have to have a bachelor's degree before you teach. So there are certain qualifications. The head of the Alachua County Teachers Union, though, said she's dismayed by this plan. And her reason says that now someone with just a high school education can pass the test and can easily get a 5-year temporary certificate. I don't even know what to say, but that's the teachers union's perspective.
I'm sure she's dismayed because this blows open that comfortable complacency that they got to enjoy, they meaning those teachers, union activists, and members. What I find dismaying is that hubris that is exemplified in her statement, which is essentially totally demeaning people who have served this country and somehow imparting that because these guys have gone through this totally draconian bureaucratic qualification system that our government puts forth, that somehow they're more qualified than these people. I love this program and this plan so much for two reasons. Because number one, I cannot think of better educators and inspirations and leaders than those who have served our country in law enforcement and in the military and the like. And secondly, because it circumnavigates, as you were saying, all of those teachers that have been entrenched and sort of grown up in that petri dish. And it amplifies and lifts up those people that have served and bled for our country. Why shouldn't we be prioritizing them to integrate them back into society? And I think, I know a lot of people, I'm sure you guys too, who are like, oh, well, I couldn't be a teacher in this state because I didn't have that extra certificate, but I was here, and they're amazing. That's exactly who I would want around our kids. But they're stopped from doing so because of these ridiculous things they have to navigate. So I appreciate the point about there's qualifications that are necessary, but it still isn't in that drowning form that makes a lot of people unable to participate that you want leading your children.
Harris.
You look like you wanted to speak.
Just on her points, I'm sure DeSantis is doing something about this, but there are a lot of military spouses who actually have the education to be a teacher, but because they move to a different state every 3 years, can't keep up with the certification process.
That's what Emily was saying.
And I hope the door is blown open for them as well, because that's red tape that makes no sense and disqualifies a lot of qualified people.
We may find that there are more candidates for this, too, as military veterans, as certain municipalities have defunded the police forces. We do know that 19% of those who are serving as police officers formerly served in the military. That's a big chunk of our force. So if some of them have come out, you may find that some of them are more, and they're used to training. I mean, that's part of your transition.
Best thing about being in the military is teaching the young ones the way. It's a lot of fun. It's fulfilling.
Hey everyone, I'm Emily Campagno. Catch me and my co-hosts Harris Faulkner and Kaylee McEnany on Outnumbered every weekday at 12 p.m. Eastern, or set your DVR. Also, don't forget to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page for daily highlights.